It's 1981. The personal computer is a toy, a thing you plug into your TV. And the companies winning are names most people today have never heard of. Look at the top of the board: Commodore, Atari, Apple, Tandy. These are the machines a whole generation first learned to code on, sold by the million into living rooms. That August, the mainframe giant IBM ships a small beige box it just calls the PC. On this board, it's a rounding error near the bottom. It will also rewrite the entire industry. But the machine actually outselling everyone isn't from a computer company at all. It's Texas Instruments, a calculator maker, dumping cheap home computers at prices nobody can match. The other home computer empire is Apple. The Apple II is the machine that built the company. Years old already, and still one of the best-selling computers on this board. That price war torches everyone, Texas Instruments most of all. In 1983, it loses a fortune and walks away, the first giant to just quit the business. In 1984, Apple answers with the Macintosh, the future of computing in one machine. But the future doesn't sell yet. Apple sits third, a premium taste in a cheap market. The machine that's actually winning is the Commodore 64. Colorful, cheap, everywhere. The best-selling computer of its era and the king of this board. Then the disappearances begin. Britain's Sinclair, a home computer pioneer, is swallowed by rival Amstrad, the first famous name to vanish into another company entirely. And up top, the beige box takes over. IBM overtakes Commodore. The standard IBM created is now the standard the world actually buys. But here's the twist that decides everything. IBM never locked the door. Dozens of makers legally clone its PC. And together, the clones now outsell IBM itself. The standard escapes its inventor. The loudest of the clones is Compaq, a Texas startup that out-engineers IBM at its own game and starts climbing this board fast. By 1990, IBM still leads, but it's surrounded. Compaq, NEC out of Japan, Packard Bell. The clones are everywhere now, and they are closing in. Now the old guard starts falling. Tandy, Radio Shack's computer arm, a pioneer since the 70s, quits the PC business and sells off its factories. And then the king dies. Commodore, the company that put a computer in millions of homes, goes bankrupt overnight. The home computer era is officially over. The volume war has a new winner, and it's a clone. Compaq takes the crown, the first company to build its entire empire on somebody else's standard. The invisible engine under all of it, Windows and Intel. Every clone runs the same chips and the same software, so the only things left to compete on are price and scale. Money floods in from everywhere. Japan's NEC buys into Packard Bell, briefly stitching together one of the biggest PC makers on the planet. And the late 90s are a gold rush. The internet arrives, suddenly everyone needs a computer, and sales explode. For a few glorious years, there's room for almost everyone to grow at once. Compaq, flush and fearless, swallows digital equipment. DEC, one of computing's founding giants, for around $9 billion. The hunters are getting bigger, but the real threat isn't buying anyone. Dell skips the stores completely. Build to order, sold direct, no middleman. And it becomes the fastest-growing name on the board. At the millennium, it's Compaq on top, Dell right on its heels, and over 100 million PCs a year shipping worldwide. The industry has never been bigger or more crowded. Then the giants start eating each other. Hewlett-Packard swallows Compaq whole. The clone king that once dethroned IBM, now just a bar disappearing into HP. But Dell's machine just keeps winning. By 2003, Dell rules the world. The leanest, cheapest way to buy a computer beats everybody who has to guess demand in advance. And the logic driving all of it is brutally simple. When you're selling millions of near-identical boxes, the biggest and cheapest player wins. Scale doesn't just help. Scale eats everything. IBM sees it coming. The company that started all of this has been quietly sliding for years. The PC, now a low-margin commodity it no longer even wants to make. And then, the most symbolic deal of them all. The company that invented the PC sells the whole business to Lenovo, a Chinese firm most of the West had never heard of. IBM absorbed. Overnight, Lenovo jumps into the top 3, carrying IBM's ThinkPads, IBM's engineers, and IBM's place in the race. The scraps of a giant become the seed of the next one. Up front, the crown changes hands again. HP, fattened by the Compaq deal, has retaken the lead from Dell. The merger that looked clumsy is suddenly paying off. Then, a cheap little laptop rewrites the market. ASUS launches the ePC and kicks off the netbook craze. Tiny 10-inch, under $400. And ASUS and Acer surge. Acer goes on a buying spree to keep up. First America's Gateway, the direct sell brand famous for shipping in cowprint boxes, folded straight into Acer. Then Europe's Packard Bell, the same name NEC had propped up a decade earlier, absorbed too. 2 more household names gone in a single year. By 2008, HP is the biggest PC maker in the world, built on the back of the Compaq it swallowed. Consolidation is winning. Fewer, bigger, cheaper. Then, in 2010, Apple asks a completely different question. The iPad. Not a better PC, a reason for millions of people to never buy one at all. Lenovo keeps buying its way up. Japan's NEC, once a top 5 giant on the strength of its home market, folds into a joint venture under Lenovo's wing. And in 2011, the industry ships more PCs than it ever will again. This is peak PC, the very top of the mountain, and nobody standing on it knows they're already on the way down. Then, in 2013, it finally happens. Lenovo takes the world. The first Chinese company ever to lead global PCs. The giant that bought IBM's leftovers now sitting at number 1. But the ground is shifting under everyone. Even Sony quits, selling off Vaio as laptops stop being where the money or the excitement actually is. And here's why it's shrinking. Nobody needs a new PC every 3 years anymore. Your phone does what the family computer used to. So the upgrade cycle that fed this whole industry just quietly stopped. Watch the board thin out. No new names arrive anymore, only old ones leaving. The PC stopped being where the fight is. The fight moved to the phone in your pocket. Japan folds next. Fujitsu signs its PC business over to Lenovo, the third famous Japanese maker to disappear into the same Chinese giant. And Toshiba, the company that basically invented the modern laptop, gives up entirely, handing off the last of its PC business. 2 more giants, gone the same year. By 2020, the entire global market is just 6 companies. 6. In a business that once had dozens clawing for the top of this very board. And then the one company still rewriting the rules. Apple drops its own silicon, the M1 chip. While everyone else consolidates, Apple redefines what a laptop even is, and starts climbing again. The pandemic hands the PC one last surge, the whole world scrambling for a laptop to work and learn from home. Then, just as fast, the market drops right back down. This is the survivor's war. At the top, 4 names still fighting for the crown: Lenovo, HP, Dell, and Apple, the ones who simply never quit. But look closer at what they're actually fighting over. It's the same standard IBM built in 1981 and then handed to the world. IBM is gone. Commodore, Compaq, Gateway, every king this board ever crowned, gone. The machine they fought over outlived every single one of them. So don't ask who's winning. On a board this brutal, every crown is temporary. The only thing that really lasts is the standard underneath it. The real question is who's building the machine that finally replaces the PC itself.